This is Future Sense Now, where we explore the landscape and byways of our shared futures. Future Sense Now is brought to you by the Futures Forum. Stay tuned for a journey to the futures of women with host Dr. Claire Nelson.
Look at this question then. We're talking about a sustainable development goals in order to create a thriving world, because there's a sense that we are under an existential threat owing to living outside the donut, as Kate has put it, where we have been passing the boundaries of what is sustainable existentially. The actual chemical boundaries of how much chemicals we can release in the air and still have the air clean itself. We're passing the boundaries of how much pollution we can give in the sea and have the sea clean itself. So there's actually some boundaries we're coming up close to. So I guess my question is, given that we have sort of separated out gender, right, in the SDGs, and there's not been, like I would say, an actual conversation, and maybe this is one thing we ought to be putting on the table as women futurists. There's not been a conversation, or as gender experts in the futures business as well, we've not had a conversation on saying, oh, hey, we're looking at space, we're looking at biodiversity, we're looking at so and so, but what we need to do is have a gendered conversation about how teaching the men to allow their, let's say, their feminine principles to rise, and then looking at the actual statistics and targets and measuring it differently. Because as you say rightly, production is measured as to what is valued. Likewise, when we look at the inequality metrics, it is according to what is valued. Look at sustainability metrics is according to what is valued, and so very often we're not valuing, let's say, things which are considered the feminine principles, which tie into maybe the principles around sustainability much more closely in a practical way. I don't think we have time for a slow change. So I guess my question would be, as we think about change making, are there any ways you've thought about how we might speed this conversation up or amplify the conversation so more people are having these kinds of conversations, so we can tell our stories better, so we can actually get the change happening where more women begin to actually even speak like this, even the few that are in those spaces, allow themselves to say it because they know they have a background of women on the streets marching to kind of help them push this agenda forward. What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, I think we are fortunate that we live in a world where we can have these communications. We live in a world where we are becoming smaller as a global society. It's good and bad. There are trends that are pushing us towards extinction. There is no doubt about that. I mean, not the earth, but human species, and that is very sad for us. At the same time, there are trends that are a little bit more promising. There are global conversations. There are global efforts to change how we produce. There is high level of awareness. Many theorists and activists have been making this link that one of the reasons why nature is in such predicament, because for centuries women were seen as closer to nature. It was like women's domain, and men were creating culture and civilization. And when you extrapolate that into the future, if you have unbalanced gender relationships, you're going to value one thing over another. So we have devalued nature the same way we have devalued peace and we have devalued women, because that was all part of this domain that people who are succeeding in a hierarchy in patriarchal world were supposed to constantly suppress, and our societies are supposed to suppress that. Now that system we know cannot survive. Kate has written that, and also Hazel has written about, Hazel Henderson, about this kind of donut economic is one vision, and this cake is something that instead of pie chart, economist pie chart, you have a cake where you have layers, and you have paid economy, and then you have love economy, and you have a nature layer, and you have to take into account all of them. So pricing of nature is an effort that is happening currently in some parts of the world. Now, the trouble with our world is that our human brain is very interesting organ, and very often when we're at a threshold of big change, we freak out, and then we want to go back to status quo and back to the past and back how things were. That is impossible. You can never go back to where you were because things have changed, but people choose the illusion of going back to a certain time, and that is very dangerous. So there.
I mean, for me, it's like what you're saying is so like, okay, so you put it into a much more polite and eloquent way of saying that, hey, dude, you can't go back in time. You know, we got to go forward, and no matter, you understand the backlash, but in reality,
Yes.
as policymakers, as people, even those people who may be marching, you know, you're also trying to go back in time. We got to go back to, we have to kind of construct a different vision altogether from even what you're marching for. So that's a very interesting way to put it. Yes, so continue.
Yes, so when we look at how things will evolve, they will be multiple. They will be all those scenarios that you showed me and that is on your website. They will all play out. They will play out for different people differently. Some women and some men will live in certain type of reality, and it is going to be very much like the world we have now, where you have this diversity of experience in the future as well. Now, whether patriarchy and everything that comes with it would further colonize the future, that is a big question. You know, I do hope we will have the future that is perhaps not female, but it's genderful. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see the future.
Could you say it again, please? You would like to, I like to say it again, please.
Well, you had in this text that you sent it, you said something about future being female, yeah? And that is something very interesting. It's a very interesting concept, and a number of people have played with this concept. I remember the text from the 80s where James Robertson wrote about our two basic choices. We have a choice to go towards he future, which is hyper-expansionist future, or we can go towards she future, which is sane, humane, and ecological. And it is very interesting. It was written by a man. So you can see that men can embody feminist worldview and women embody patriarchal worldview. So just being of a female body or a male body is not guaranteed that you will be change agent, changing from patriarchy towards more gender equitable and fair society. So we need to have some sort of higher level of knowledge. And I think as a global human civilization, we are getting there. Whether we'll get there fast enough, I'm not so sure.
Before you go forward, so you have a he future and you have a she future.
She future, that's a Robinson's term. You have different terminology, like Raina Eisler talks about dominator or androcracies versus...
What is the future that kind of does this? Is there a name for that future that does this? The he and the she and you do this. What is that future called?
Well, the way I like to see it, I don't like to see unisex androgyny because I think that's sameness. I like to see diversity. So I call it multiple gender diversity, or I would like to see future that is genderful. That's the term I was using instead of just being female.
Genderful. Okay.
Like wonderful, full of many genders and expressions.
A new word. So you have he and she, and a new word called the future. You know. So you don't have the future or he future or she future. You have their future, which is a new word that combines. So let us say genderful equal they, and we now have a new term. Instead of he or she future or the future, you have their future.
That would be nice. That would be nice. We just need to see what those kind of letters stand for.
With a common language that we can easily, kind of put and see if it catches on as a meme that we can use. So then, as I hear you, and this idea of the cake, layered cake, but we still might have shares because of, economic realities, but we have the cake as opposed to a pie. That's a nice image for us to take away. The other image I'd like us to take away, this idea of this genderful future, which is a they future, not a he or she future. It's not a future is female, the future is genderful. So we can probably start putting that out here and maybe get a t-shirt with a hashtag. Future is
but if you understand my point, it's not the one that dominates. Most women's and feminist visions, I've done study on that, looked into feminist movement, into feminist utopian writing, science fiction writing. There's always this imagination not of reversing hierarchy, male-female hierarchy to be female-male hierarchy, which the future is female may apply. It was rather to create partnership between men, women, and all genders, and across all other divisions that we currently have. So that is a different vision altogether, the one that is not based on domination. Because if we continue trying to dominate other people, races, religions, and so on and so forth, we are really not going to make it as a species. It's almost guaranteed that we are going to disappear. And then Earth will rejuvenate. We've seen what has happened in Chernobyl, for example, that animal life and nature life has come back. We will disappear. Humans will no longer be around. So that's something we're trying to avoid. And there are different ways and images.
Well, I have this little skit I do when I try to talk to my friends who are not futurists, and I say to them, Mother Earth is saying, oh, you humans, you're like cockroaches, I'm going to get rid of you. Boof, I'm going to send a flood, boof, I'm going to send a pandemic. It's just too much of you doing too many crazy things, so
well,
you have
it is a scenario.
But actually, the Earth would not be saying we're like cockroaches because the cockroaches will come back. We won't.
Yeah. Well, it is one scenario, but there are other scenarios. And of course, we want to survive, and not only survive, we want to thrive. We want to thrive as human civilization,
Definitely.
and we want to thrive as societies that help everyone who lives in those societies live nice life where most basic human needs are satisfied, where people have human rights, women's rights, all sorts of rights are taken into consideration. So that's what we want. That's a vision, global vision for all humans, not just women and feminist and women's movement. Now, different people have different ideas how to achieve that. Some people want to send us to different planets, and then we may ruin them as well. Other people want to conserve what we have. Some other people, like transhumanists, they want to download our brains into virtual kind of space, and that's how we survive further down in the future. Now, my personal vision may be a little bit different. I would like to see diversity of all those efforts helping us survive and thrive in the future. And I think one way to do that is to embrace our diversity instead of constantly trying to dominate and come up as a top dog or a top culture or a top society or a top religion or top gender, etc. And I think that vision is in line with what has been happening for now probably many, many decades all around the world, where more and more people are coming forward to support that type of vision. Now, power does not exist in one group. Power only exists when it's put in motion. So the more you enforce this type of vision, the more you do actions in the present moment that are working towards that desired future, the more likely is that type of future to eventuate. It's as simple as that.
Right, because actually we are the ones who create the future. The future is embedded in our landscape right now. It's embedded in our minds as visions, and it's expressed through the actions we take to create it. So we are, in fact, as the new book says, Homo Deus is really becoming real. On that note, with that book title, Homo Deus, one of the challenges I had was, we already have a sort of impression as God as a masculine entity. Would there be a better book, a better title for a book that has the same idea, as Homo Deus, but that wouldn't have that already uh, loaded word. Would you have another name for that concept? Because I'm trying to come up with a name as well. Um,
Yeah.
what would
I
your
will
name
have to
be for that?
consult. I would need to consult my son. He is a linguist. He has graduated in linguistics, so I would need to talk to him, especially English not being my first language. So, uh, in terms of the concepts, when you think of, for example, at the realm of symbolic, you think of the sign for women, it has a cross. And a male symbol has that arrow. There are many symbols for feminine and masculine representation, but those are the two that have been chosen as the universal ones now.
Yes.
And this arrow is all, it's in line of this patriarchal tradition of man creating the future,
Yes.
man creating culture, civilization, being in charge of our destinies, being in charge of our economies, being leaders, being political leaders, economic leaders. So it symbolizes that movement where women are like supposed to be more rooted in the ground. That's their essence. They're conservers. They conserve culture. They conserve society. So I think we need some sort of a different symbol that I can't think of because I don't think like that. And it's definitely something that we, I think, need to transform this division into something that embraces both of these energies, because we humans are microcosms of everything that exists in that sense, in terms of those psychological traits, and we have equal rights to them. We have rights as women to be assertive and to even compete if there is a need to compete. And at the same time, men have the right to be vulnerable. They have the right to do care and nurturing as well. So to kind of get into a space where we can, as individuals and collectively, choose from the whole range of human expression, independent of our gender, would be wonderful. What kind of symbol we come with, we know that the story and the narrative and mythology and metaphors follow the shift in our thinking, and that shift that creates different structure, because structure is something that people create once behavior changes at a large level. So as more and more people start behaving differently, the structure will shift accordingly. So
Well, I
with
have
this
come up with an
type of a
agenda.
book,
I've come
sorry?
up with an agenda. I've come up with a symbol which I will take with my phone and send to you. And I'm going to try and get an artist to do it and see, and make sure it's not the same symbol that Prince used, to make sure I'm not, copying him. And if it's not the same symbol that Prince used, I'm going to get an artist to actually perfect it, and then we're going to use that
Yes.
symbol, okay?
That
The
was
future,
interesting. That was
the
an interesting
future is
attempt.
genderful. I'm going to put the future is
Yes.
genderful, and I will do that. So tell me this name now. So we're moving from Homo sapien sapien, which is humans who don't know, to human as God. But we don't want to use God, because Homo tends to also mean men in our minds. So is there another phrase that we can now close off with that will give us a nice, let's say, conversation ending that we can actually use to do something in the future?
Okay.
How would we say that in a term? We're saying the Anthropocene is a word that we're using a lot more often. The book, I think, is going to take a lot of meaning. The book Homo Deus will take a lot of meaning, I think. So we move from Homo sapien sapien to Homo Deus and Homo. But beyond Homo Deus is not this man as God, the masculine context of God in our minds, is, or maybe this one eludes us. What about Homo spelled with a W? Homo, meaning whole.
I studied Latin for 2 years in my high school. I would have to go back and revisit because it's been many years and I haven't actually used it for many years. So I'm gonna have to revisit and start thinking about different terminology. Sorry.
Well, I have the one for homo. We spell with a W, so we're like homo. For whole,
Okay.
we have the W for whole, and then For Deus, we're gonna have to have maybe the Latin Dei, which is like a plural, and started using maybe Dei instead, so it includes the Homo Dei.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Ivana, we have started a new meme. We are starting a new meme today.
Brilliant.
This wonderful conversation. Has been just really such a lesson for me, such a schooling. I mean, as I said, your name has been a legend. I've always wanted to have an opportunity to meet you, and I'm so delighted that we've had this opportunity to have this extended conversation
for
about
the initiative.
women.
I think what you're doing is great, and I'm certainly looking forward to listening to what other women and other people you interviewed said on the subject. So it's fantastic to have this conversation, have it recorded and put it out there for people who want to listen and find out more to be able to do so. So thank you. Thank you, Claire.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, friends, we have come to the end, as I said, of a wonderful conversation. I don't think I need to add anything else. We have a new symbol. We have a new term, Homo Dei, as people becoming gods, and we are closing out our conversation with my most fascinating guest and most fascinating new friend in the future space, IVANA Milojevic. Did I pronounce it right this time?
Thank you. It's close enough.
You see, when it just does close enough, my heart goes like, oh, I wish I could have done a little bit better. And we are really thanking you for sharing your insight and foresight about the futures of women, which is indeed the futures of the world in 2030 and beyond. Folks, we want to thank you for listening for another edition of Future Sense Now, the online e-zine of the Futures Forum, where we're striving to bring you more diverse voices of those who are shaping our shared future. Today's guest was IVANA Milojevic. And as
Can I just say it? I'll say it once. IVANA Milojevic.
All right. And as we leave you to ponder your own pathway and plans for constructing the future you want, I invite you to remember that the future is embedded in the landscape of all that is now present, and to face our shared future with faith. Thank you for listening. Safe journeys.
You have been listening to Future Sense Now with Dr. Claire Nelson, brought to you by the Futures Forum. For more, please visit www.thefuturesforum.org. Thank you for listening. Spread the word. Share the future.